What's up, everybody? Cinema Corey here, and one half of Movie Chumps, and with me is
Corey K, one half of That Sounds Terrible, Go On.
Yes, and we just got out of Spider-Man Brand New Day, the new Spider-Man movie, this time from director Daniel Destin Cretton, who took over from Peyton Reed, the fourth time that Tom Holland has rocked this one out. Corey, I know you are a huge Spider-Man fan. What did you think of this movie?
It amazes me how what every single one of these solo Spider-Man films has done is something that the others have not been able to properly accomplish, is that they move the needle in character development for Peter Parker and Spider-Man at the same time in ways that are meaningful and carry on to the next film and also are referenced in the next film. This one knocked it out the park. If you loved the emotions that came from No Way Home, you're really gonna love what comes from this film.
I think to me, this is maybe the most adult Spider-Man that we have ever gotten on screen in terms of its themes, its maturity. It actually is felt in some ways to me, Corey, and I'll get your perspective on this, almost like a drama within the MCU, but with Spider-Man.
Absolutely agree. And I think the way that it fits more into the drama side is it explores like a touch of trauma, but more so isolation.
Yes.
And also this wanting to grab and hold on to your past, even though you know you have to move on, and you don't want to move on. You don't want to move forward because that's all you've ever known. So there's a lot, and I think it's just about accepting the changes that are going to happen to you as you grow older. So as you said, it's a very mature MCU story, and honestly, probably one of the most, if not the most mature MCU story that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, it's very thematically heavy, but that doesn't mean it's not fun. There's some great action. The stuff with the Hulk, I really loved. They kind of brought the Hulk back to where I wanted him to be, which is kind of Rage Hulk. I'm not going to talk about Sadie Sink's character because I'm not going to spoil it. But to me, I got to say, Corey, she was a highlight. Sadie Sink was fantastic in the role that she's in that we won't talk about. But I think this bodes very well for the future of her being in that role.
I absolutely agree. And I think that what this also showcased with her is her as a performer and where her strengths are, and that she's actually a really good performer.
Yes.
She has a wide range. She's obviously mostly known as Max from Stranger Things, but there is so much more to her, and the fact that she took this role and did something that's so different than someone her age coming off of a big show would do. You would expect her to do some type of cheesy teen rom-com crap. That is not what is happening here. She nailed it from both a performer aspect and choosing the right role aspect.
I was also interested to think and curious, I believe you were too, about how Punisher was going to work in this film because, Frank Castle, as we've seen him played by Jon Bernthal, has been fantastic, but it's been very dark, it's been very gritty, been very violent. How would that vibe with Spider-Man? And I gotta tell you, I loved their relationship dynamic. I thought their chemistry really worked. I think they played off each other well. And they also were able to kind of complement each other in that they have very different worldviews on people, but just that it worked.
I think it did too, and I was very curious as well going in. What were they going to do with Frank? Was it just going to be a throwaway character, or were we actually going to get to see a little bit more of Frank, and are we going to get to see Frank evolve? Because keeping in mind, the last time that we saw Frank was earlier this year, the one-shot release, the Punisher One Last Kill,
yep.
Right? So I was kind of curious to see where they're going to leave off on that, because in that one, if you haven't seen it, it leaves off with Frank going, I guess I'm back to killing people again because I don't have a damn choice. This is just who I am. And this kind of picks up a little bit where that character left off. And throughout the film, you see gradual change throughout the character, which again, I'm just going to keep talking about how amazing the transition of characters was here. But as for, you said, the chemistry between these two is undeniable. I want a Jon Bernthal, Tom Holland buddy cop movie immediately.
Absolutely. Also, we've got to talk about, I love Peyton Reed's films were good. I really liked them, and there definitely is some building that goes into this. But what Daniel Destin Cretton did as a director, I think, is took this back to the grassroots, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And I think it worked. And I think that a lot of Spider-Man fans who want that are going to be very happy about that fact.
I fully agree. I think that what was done here was different than the trilogy that we've seen prior to this, as well as, the film series that we've seen before in this franchise. And I think that it was something that's needed. Like you said, this is a much more grown-up Spider-Man, and I think that the change of director, they changed everything to match that tone, including it. There's more subtleties in this film, especially in the camera work. There were a few scenes where, something like devastating happens, and all of a sudden it goes from, oh, Peter's really happy, he's out doing things, bip bop boobity bop, and then something horrible happens that triggers him, and all of a sudden the camera doesn't zoom in, it just cuts in to where it's just focused on him, and it's giving, again, he went from being in a room full of people to feeling completely and totally isolated, and it's a very subtle thing they do in this film, and I think that this change of director was the right move.
Yeah, I really say I've got to appreciate the action sequences and how they're different than the previous 3 films we've seen. There's a lot of, if anyone's ever played the Spider-Man video games that are on PS5, there's some sections from there. But I also felt, Corey, that the way it's structured in terms of when Peter's swinging through the city and whatnot, it's beautiful to begin with. But you feel like you're kind of with him. It's almost like a first-person perspective, and it helps you relate, I think, more to Spider-Man as a superhero, but also as a character, as Peter Parker.
I agree on that. I think that I don't want to talk in circles here, but about this, but you're absolutely right on this. What they've done with this character is something I think I've wanted my entire life, but I didn't realize I wanted it. I've been a huge Spider-Man fan since, watching like the 94 cartoon.
Yep.
I literally remember vividly consistently asking my mom, please buy the Spider-Man SpaghettiOs, and eating those as often as I could.
One last thing I want to talk about before I get your score is one of the things I was worried about coming into this was Ned and MJ going to be regulated to minor characters? Were they going to be afterthoughts? And what I was happy to see is that they weren't. There are some incredible scenes, one in particular between Peter and MJ that happens on the roof. And the acting in this is impressive, but man, Zendaya is just as good as advertised again.
It should come as no surprise. Zendaya consistently brings it no matter what role she's in. I still say that she got robbed by not even getting nominated for her performance in Challengers, but that's a whole other episode we could do this on. But yeah, no, I like the fact that they didn't just push these 2 characters to the side. They made it part of Peter's story so that he could grow, and again, they fed into him changing without abandoning them. And I think there's something to be said in that about life where, maybe you can leave some parts of your past behind with some people, like, your relationship grows with people, but it doesn't mean you have to leave them behind just because you 2 have changed a little bit.
Yeah. All right, Corey, I'm going to ask you, if you had to rate this 1 through 10, what are you going to give Spider-Man Brand New Day at this moment?
At this moment, I'm going to have to give this a very solid 8.5 out of 10. It's a great film. It's a great film through and through. I think that it's to me, it's not quite perfect. It's not quite like Amazeballs, but I'm also a little bit harsher on things. I really did enjoy this overall. I would absolutely recommend this to anybody who is a Spider-Man fan, anybody who's been following the MCU. This is not a film to skip. Go to the theater, watch this, experience it, try to go in as blind as you can.
Yeah, and as Corey said too, it is a theater experience. Our theater loved it. Applause at the end, well earned. For me personally, I'm right vibing with you. I think I would give it a 9. I give it a strong 9 out of 10. I also think that this is maybe the best of the Tom Holland Spider-Man films that we've gotten in terms of total package as a movie. Also, ninjas. I'm Corey Van Castle Cook of Cinema Corey and one half of Movie Chumps.
I'm Corey K of That Sounds Terrible, Go On.
We'll see you next time. Peace.